Did you know that in the Pelican neighborhood of Cape Coral, crossing one single road, Skyline Blvd, means the difference between 20 minutes and nearly an hour to open water by boat? Now in this video, I'm going to show you the exact boat routes out of every canal system in the Pelican neighborhood, from the South Spreader all the way over to Santa Barbara. We're going to cover real travel times to open water, every bridge height you need to know, and the flood zones that will directly affect your insurance cost. My name is Barry Cessna, your Cape Coral waterfront realtor, and this is the information you won't find anywhere else. Let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome aboard. I'm Barry Cessna, your Cape Coral waterfront realtor. We've got a lot of great information to cover about the Pelican neighborhood today of the city of Cape Coral. Now, Pelican's a really great place to be. A lot of people want to be in the Pelican neighborhood. They're not exactly sure where it's at. Most people think it's just along the Pelican Boulevard, but we're going to show you how that expands a little bit further west than that. So let's first jump into where Cape Coral's at. Cape Coral's located in Southwest Florida. Many of my clients come down from the Midwest, Northeast, from Canada, different areas like that, and they fly into RSW Airport or the Punta Gorda Airport, which both have easy access to Cape Coral. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. Cape Coral is located in Southwest Florida. It's going to be just north of Naples, about 50 minutes, 2 hours south of Tampa, and then about 2.5 hours from Miami, to the west of Miami. So Cape Coral is a peninsula, as you can see right here. It's going to be over 400 miles of navigable canals here in the city of Cape Coral. It's bordered on the east by the Caloosahatchee River and Fort Myers, and then on the west here, you're going to have the spreaders. You're going to have the North Spreader and the South Spreader, and then Matlacha Pass. So there's definitely a lot of different ways to get out of the city of Cape Coral if you're going out by boat to get out to open water. If you're here in the Northwest, you're pretty much going to be going through Matlacha Pass. And if you're here in the southern part of Cape Coral, you're going to be exiting to the Caloosahatchee River by the North Spreader or some of the multiple other canals that head out to the river. So let's jump into the Pelican neighborhood. I want to go over different areas. So today we're going to define the Pelican neighborhood as on the eastern side here is going to be Santa Barbara. On the southern side is going to be Cape Coral Parkway. And then we're going to cover between Beach Parkway and Cape Coral Parkway, this area here. Some people know it as the Sands area, but we're going to put this into our Pelican video. And then, as you can see, Pelican right here, we're going to go up Chiquita and we're going to cover up to Gleason. Actually, really Mohawk, because all the canals above Mohawk, these are all going to be freshwater, except for one canal, which is this one here, which is going to be the Lotus Canal, which is Gulf access, and we'll get into that one in just a moment. Now, if you're wondering about these canals over here, just south of Oasis Charter School and Ida Baker High School, these canals here we covered in our Surfside video, so you're going to want to check out the Surfside video if you want to know about distance to open water, bridge heights, flood zones, things like that for that area. But today we're going to cover mainly just north of Cape Coral Parkway between the the South Spreader and over to Santa Barbara. So let me give you a little bit of a map tour here. Let's zoom in right here. Here you have Sands Boulevard. You have the brand new Sands Park over here where they have tennis courts, pickleball courts. They have a great park for the kids, toys to play on. They have a jogging path the whole way around. A really nice area here. I think they even have some shuffleboard and some basketball courts. Now, not a lot of trees yet. Trees are there, but they just haven't grown out, so just not a lot of shade there. So make sure that if you go there, you go there morning or evening when it's not as hot, or of course in the wintertime it's great as well. But a really nice park there in the Sands area. And then let's go over here. This is going to be Aqualinda, and then we have Chiquita right here. The other parks that I want to show you are going to be over here off of Pelican. This is Pelican Blvd. Pelican Blvd runs between down here off of El Dorado the whole way north to Gleason. But a lot of people like this area because they have the soccer complex right here. They have the Pelican baseball complex right here. And then over here you have the library, which makes it really nice and convenient for kids in this area. Also in this area, you're going to have a neighborhood Walmart for grocery shopping. And then other restaurants, things like that in the area. I want to point out, you're going to have over here off of Santa Barbara, you're going to have your Publix, which makes it really nice. You have a handful of restaurants along Cape Coral Parkway, including Duffy's Sports Bar, which is a huge sports bar. You're going to have your other Publix here in the corner of Chiquita and Cape Coral Parkway. And then in this plaza right here, you're going to have a couple of different restaurants. The Lobster Lady, which is a Cape Coral favorite. And then also J&P Fusion for sushi's one of my wife's favorites over there in that area. So that gives you a good idea of restaurants in that exact area. Now, if you drive down Chiquita, you're going to end up down here at Cape Harbor, which is a great high-rise community. They have the Rum Runners restaurant there where you can actually pull your boat up dockside and have dinner. On the back side, you have the French Press for breakfast. You also have Fathoms, a great little tiki bar there. They always have live music going on. It's really a nice and enjoyable area. So you can either go by boat or you can drive just down Chiquita to get there as well. And it's a pretty quick drive from the Pelican neighborhood. And then we come over here and you're going to have Tarpon Point. Now, Tarpon Point has a handful of restaurants there, including Pinchers, the Monty Mermaid, Marker 92. You also have Gather, and then over here, you're going to have the Social House, which is a nice area as well for food overlooking the marina. You can also take your boat there to dock and dine. You can pull up your boat. They have to do some transient docks there for you to pull right up and have dinner as well. And then the other area, we're going to move up. Here's Cape Coral Parkway up here. We're going to move along Cape Coral Parkway, closer to downtown. In the downtown area, they just completed the Bimini Square project, which is a huge project here. Lee Health put a lot of medical offices there. But what I want to point out is you have the Bimini Basin Seafood and Cocktails restaurant, which is right here on the water. They have over 40 transient slips there, so a lot of space where you can just pull your boat right up and have dinner. And we didn't have that a lot for this western or the eastern side of the Pelican area. Those boaters had to drive a little bit further to get to a restaurant. However, they now have that amazing restaurant right there, which really makes it far more enjoyable. So we're going to tell you how long it's going to take to get to those areas in just a moment. And then of course you have downtown Cape Coral, which is a quick drive from the Pelican neighborhood. And you have along 47th Terrace here, you have several different restaurants, bars, ice cream, seafood, Mexican, sports bars, late night. You have the Cape Cabaret, which has a lot of different shows there that you can go and enjoy with the family, or the later ones are going to have like a lot of cover bands there. But that's where you're going to go for a lot of different restaurants. So the thing about the Pelican neighborhood is it's one of the most affordable, convenient neighborhoods in Cape Coral. It's north of Cape Coral Parkway, so you don't pay a premium to be there, but you also have fairly quick access. Now, with that being said, some of the canals in the Pelican area can take you over an hour to get out, or close to an hour. And then other ones, you're within 20 minutes of open water or to the river. So what I want to do is jump into that and start going over distance to open water, because that's what's important. I'm sure that's all right. Let's jump into distance to open water in the canal systems here in the Pelican neighborhood. First neighborhood we're going to look at, or the first area of the neighborhood, is going to be the western side along the south spreader. We're going to go from Chiquita over to the south spreader. So Chiquita, you can't get across Chiquita. So if you're on the west side of Chiquita, you need to exit to open water by way of the south spreader. So the closest you can possibly be, we have Cape Coral Parkway to the south, Beach Parkway to the north, and then we have Maxwell Canal right here. Now this is the closest you can actually be to open water, the Clusatchie River, which is 37 minutes. That's 3.7 miles. It'll take you about 37 minutes. We're going to go over bridge heights here in just a moment, so hang with me. And then as we continue back into this complex, you'll notice several canals that are much wider, a really nice area, some great views at some of these homes in this area. It's a really desirable area. It just does take a few extra minutes to get to the open water. Not quite as much as the Surfside area, but it does take. As you can see here, here's the Obispo Canal, and it's 4.4 miles. It'll take you about 44 minutes to get out to the open water. And then if we go back a little further, we have another bridge here. This is Aqualinda. Now these are all Gulf access canals. You can look in and see little boats there, and everyone's got their canopies and their docks, their boat lifts. And these homes here with these big views, they have more frontage than the normal 80 feet of frontage, and this really opens up the views, so people pay a premium for views like that to be in a home like that. but it's just amazing, incredible when you look out your window every morning or you're out on your lanai having your coffee. So we're back in about as far as we can go, and now this is the Mona Lisa Canal. It actually is 5.7 miles to open water, and it's 57 minutes. And this is Chiquita right here, just along, and it's going to take you that long to get the whole way out. So how do you get out? You're going to come down the canal system. You're going to keep going west. Keep going west. From these ones down here, these ones over here. You just got to keep going west till you get to the south spreader. Once you're in the south spreader, then you're going to come on down. You're going to come down here to the Cape Harbor area, past the Cape Harbor neighborhoods. These are all gated communities right here, which is something, it's a kind of a premium in Cape Coral. You don't see a lot of gated neighborhoods, but there are a few. And then as we come across here, you're going to see here is the lock, but that lock is no longer there. That's been removed. It was removed in late 2025. So it's not there. So it's a straight shot through. That did increase the values of the properties behind the lock, because now they can get home a lot faster when they're coming home at night, or get out to the water faster in the morning. Now this is Cape Harbor, and Rum Runner's right here. So you're still going on out, and this is how you get out to the open water. And now you finally make it out here to the river. And from the river, you can head on down. If you're going down to Fort Myers Beach for the day, maybe going to Sanibel, doing some fishing, or you're just heading out to the open water. So the furthest it's gonna, the quickest you're gonna be able to get out is about 37 minutes from this area west of Chiquita. And then from the Mona Lisa Canal, you're gonna look at about 57 minutes, so close to an hour. So keep that in mind. Now, next up, we're gonna cross over Chiquita. And this is going to be between Chiquita and Skyline. Now, this is one of my favorite areas. I love the value of what you can get in this area, and the distance to open water is pretty amazing. So if we go in here, we'll go to Cape Coral Parkway. Now, this is Lake Finisterre here. And it's about 2.5 miles to open water, about 25 minutes. And that's going to be directly down this canal. So if you jump up here to the Santa Anita Canal, it's about 3.16 miles, about 32 minutes to get to open water. So you can kind of figure the same for this canal over here. And then, of course, from these canals down here, you got to go up and around, and then you're going to shoot straight down here. This is one of the most beautiful ways of going out, I think. You just see some incredible homes when you go down through this area here. Some of the most desirable neighborhoods are right here, and then along here, and then eventually you get out to open water. So you're still exiting the same place that you would from the south spreader. However, it's just a direct shot right down the canal. One bridge, Cape Coral Parkway right there, and then you're good to go. So this is a very small area between Skyline and Chiquita, but it has that opening that goes right under Cape Coral Parkway and really lets you get out to open water fairly quickly. If you're here in the southern part, you're 20 minutes to open water, which is pretty amazing when you're north of Cape Coral Parkway. One of the other advantages of being in the Pelican neighborhood is it often sits higher elevation, which means your insurance rates typically are going to be a little bit lower than if you were south of Cape Coral Parkway. And we're going to look at flood zones here in just a minute, because not all of the Pelican area is in a flood zone. So we'll go over that here as well. Now, next up, we're going to jump and we're going to look at between Skyline and Santa Barbara, because that's the next one of where we need to know how to get out. Now, unfortunately, you can get pretty far back in the canal system here. Even though it's not that far off, that's what I wanted to point out here. If you look here, you're virtually the same neighborhood. You're just across Chiquita, you're 57 minutes if you're living on a canal here. Just go across the street, Chiquita, to this neighborhood here, and now you're 32 minutes. That's a huge difference. So you really want to pay attention and have a realtor that understands the canal system and the way that you're going to exit to get out to open water from the home that you're looking at purchasing, because that can certainly affect the values. Okay, so next up, we're going to look between Skyline and Santa Barbara. We're going to go the whole way up as far as you can go, which is the Bonnie Canal, just south of Mohawk Parkway right here. It's 5.7 miles, 57 minutes to get to open water from this canal right here. You're going to come down. You can look at these houses here. They border the baseball complex, which is really nice to have the baseball field across from you. However, you have to understand it's about 50 minutes to open water from right here. You're going to come on down. Here's another nice little lake here, Lake Yuma, where you can get some really good views if you're on this lake here. From Lake Yuma, you're about 4.8 miles or 47 minutes to open water. But isn't Cape Coral amazing? Just look at these houses. So many amazing, incredible houses right on the canals where you can park your boat right in your backyard. You can't do that in Chicago. You can't do that in Cleveland. You can't do that in Minneapolis, where you can use your boat all year round. It's absolutely amazing. I just did a video on why Cape Coral is so cheap, so I recommend checking that one out. It's got a lot of great information in it as well. It'll really give you some insight into how incredible Cape Coral actually is and the value that you can find here. You can get some of these houses here on the canal, 500, 600, 700, 800, up to $1 million on these canals. But starting at like in the $500,000 range. It'll need some updating, but definitely options. So how do you get out of this canal system? So you're going to come down from the Bonnie Canal was up here. We're going to come on down. And we actually have to go around because there is not a direct bridge going under Cape Coral Parkway here. So we have to go under this bridge. Then we're going to go over here to Lake Louise. Now from Lake Louise to get to open water, 4 miles or about 40 minutes. And that's what I tell people. If you're here on the eastern side of Pelican Blvd, because there's some nice houses here along the Pelican Blvd, really nice areas here, some brand new ones. And typically it's going to take you about 40 minutes. I talked to a client over there, and he told me that from his house to open water, it takes about 2 beers. So depending on how fast you drink your beer or how slow you drink your beer, it's going to take you a few extra minutes to get out to open water from here, about 40 minutes. So we're going to keep trekking on north now. Now this is the Lotus Canal, this long canal here, and it stretches the whole way to Gleason right here. Gulf access the whole way. So just keep that in mind. The Lotus Canal. So from the Lotus Canal, here's where we're going to trek over to get to open water. It's 3 miles from this location here in about 30 minutes. So we're going to go under the bridge here at Santa Barbara, and then we can go straight down right here, and then this is where the bridge is at that you're able to get out to open water, or you're able to cross Cape Coral Parkway, and then you're going to come right on down here. And then if you're going to dinner, which is really nice that they put this restaurant here, but the restaurant on Bimini Square or Bimini Basin is going to be right here. The development's called Bimini Square, but the Bimini Basin's right here with the Bimini Basin restaurant. Park your boat right here and have an amazing lunch or dinner. The other thing I want to point out is every year in Cape Coral we do a Christmas parade here. It's incredible to watch, but right here's where they meet is in Bimini Basin. The boats are decked out. It's probably a couple hundred boats that they have in the parade, and it's a beautiful experience. So you just meet here in Bimini Basin, and then they parade on down the canal system. So if you're on one of these canals, and we'll get into the yacht club area here a little bit later, but right now, but this is kind of how they go through, and it's a really cool experience to watch that parade. And if you own one of those canals where they actually take the boats by, that's a really cool experience because you sit right in your backyard and have a party. So that goes over the distance to open water. So let's go again. This is the Bonnie Canal right here. You have to basically go down under the bridge, up to the Lotus Canal, onto the bridge again, and then down through the country club neighborhood the whole way on out to get to open water. So the very quickest 30 minutes from the Pelican area on this side of Skyline. The very longest is about 57 minutes. So keep that in mind if you're looking in that area. So that goes over the distance to open water. Next up, we're going to jump into bridge heights, which I think is really important to understand because you need to know what type of boat that you can park there. You're not going to be able to park a sailboat in the Pelican neighborhood where there's bridges. which there's bridges just about everywhere in the Pelican neighborhood, unless you're just right over here in the sands area where you can park it right along the spreader, or dock your boat right along the spreader. That's your only option. But let's jump onto bridges. Okay, first up we have the Maxwell Canal Bridge, which is 8 feet 9 inches. That's going to be here just west of the south spreader. So all the homes back here, 8 feet 9 inches. That's what you have to understand. That's your clearance during high tide. So if your boat is going to be higher than that, you're not going to be able to put it back here. You're not going to be able to dock it at your home. So you have to understand that canal, or that bridge height, 8 feet 9 inches. Now as we go back a little bit further, we see the bridge here over Aqualinda. It's actually 9 feet 3 inches. But as you know, that really doesn't matter because you still have to go under this bridge here. So your number is 8 feet 9 inches, not 9 feet 3 inches, even if you're back here in this area, because there's only one way out of the canal system from these neighborhoods. So you have to understand the bridges in that area. So the Bonita Canal here with Aqualinda, 9 feet 3 inches, and then Maxwell Canal Bridge over Sands is 8 feet 9 inches. Okay, if we jump into the Lake Finisterre neighborhood, any of these ones here, you're coming on out and you're going south down the Gloriana Canal, and your bridge here is 10 foot 2 inches. So that's actually a nice clearance for the city of Cape Coral. It's one of the highest bridges we have within the city limits, 10 feet 2 inches. So that means that you could park probably a little bit longer center console up here. You're still not going to park your sailboat, but you could definitely put a larger boat in these canals because you have that higher clearance. It's a nice sized boat right there. This is about an 80-foot canal here. You definitely want to know the width of the canal when you're buying. Typically they're going to be about 80 feet. Sometimes they're a little bit larger, but it's good to know. Actually, this one might be a little bit bigger because this one up here is probably closer to 80 feet here. The rule in Cape Coral is that you can build your dock about 25% out into the water. So on either side, and then that leaves about 50% of the canal for you to take your boat down the canal. So you can go out about 25%. And then one of the other things I want to show you here, this is a nice example. You can build your captain's walk from property line to property line, which is typically about 80 feet, your property line here. But if you want to go out the dock, you have to be within your property line. I believe it's 12 feet. So understand that if you do want to build it out, you can certainly do that. And you can have that captain's walk the whole way across if you and your neighbor want to just really have that great boating lifestyle feel and you build the captain's walks the whole way across. That's amazing to do, but you can't build your whole dock the whole way across. It has to be in from your property line about 12 feet. Okay, one of my favorite neighborhoods right here. I think that this really gives opportunity here. It's value priced and easy access to open water, and your elevation sits a little bit higher. And your only bridge is the Gloriana Canal, which is 10 feet 2 inches. Once you're past that bridge, then you're unrestricted the whole way on out. It's direct Gulf access from there, but indirect before the bridge. All right, let's jump over to the other neighborhood. We have 2 bridges here, actually 3 bridges. Now, just for reference, here's the Pelican baseball complex, soccer complex is right here. And then here's your Shenandoah Canal, which sits at 11 feet 7 inches. So that's a high bridge as well right there. However, as we go on up here, we're going to find out that that really doesn't matter much because here's your Princeton Canal that goes under Santa Barbara, and that's going to be 9 feet 3 inches. So 9 feet 3 inches is your max right there. But let's go on and check out the bridge that goes under Santa Barbara and see where that's at. Now it's 9 foot 2 inches under the down the Santa Carlos Canal, and this one's going to be 9 foot 2 inches going under Cape Coral Parkway. So 9 foot 2 inches is about the maximum height of any boat during high tide that you can have back in this area here. If you go much bigger than that or bigger than that, you may find yourself stuck out on the other side of the bridge coming home at night if the tide's too high and you're not able to get under the bridge. Something to remember is during the winter months, our tides are quite a bit lower than during the summer months. So when you look out at your canal in October, November, the water just starts to like go lower and lower, and you're like, where did the water go? And then you understand that that's how the tides work. And during the summer months, once we get back into April, May, June, we start to see the tides come back up again, and the water start to get much higher up on the seawall. Depth of the canal is also important to know. Typically, there's not a big issue there. Typically, they're about 5 to 6 feet minimum, but you do need to be aware of that, especially if you have a boat that has a longer draft or has a deeper draft. So, okay, so that explains the bridges here in this area of the Pelican neighborhood, bridge heights in the Pelican neighborhood. So let's go ahead and look at flood zones, because I think that's important to understand as well, knowing your costs, because that comes in with additional cost. The median price for homeowners insurance in Cape Coral is about $3,600 here, and then for your flood insurance, the median cost is about $1,100. Now going up or down from there, depending on elevation, the age of the house, new roof, things like that can really impact the price as well. Okay, so let's jump over to the flood zones. Okay, here's the flood map for Cape Coral. So let's go ahead and jump into that. You can see the peninsula right here. Now we're going to talk about that. You'll see the different colors. Now the pink color here is going to be the AE flood zone. What that means is you are required to have flood insurance by your lender. And the way that FEMA talks about it is they said you have a 1 in 100 year chance, or 1 every 100 year chance of having a substantial flooding event. Now, as we go in a little bit further, we see the yellow, which is the X500, and that means a 1 in every 500 year chance of having a substantial flooding event. So let's go into where we're looking at now. We're looking at the Cape Coral Pelican neighborhood, and we're going to look between Beach Parkway and Cape Coral Parkway. So let's jump over here for the Chiquita, west of Chiquita, and as you can see, most of it's going to be AE. As we get in a little bit further, you can see that there is some X500 here. Now, the rule of thumb is if your house is inside completely the X500 zone, you do not have to have flood insurance. If there's a corner of it, say like these ones here, there's a corner right here. If there's a corner of the house outside of that in the AE flood zone, you are required to have flood insurance. Now, I can't tell you one way or the other. That's what the insurance agent does. So as soon as we get under contract on a home, we go to the insurance agent and we have them run the quotes for you, so we know exactly what it is that you're looking for to pay, because you don't want any surprises once you get closer to closing. We have a due diligence phase here. Sometimes it's 7 days, sometimes it's 10 days, sometimes it's 15 days. You set that as the buyer when you're putting the contract in. So we talk about that, and we put together a strategy in order to make a great negotiation for you. So we'll talk about that. But one of the things that you do need to understand is during the due diligence page is when you need to be talking to your insurance agent, not after that. So as you can see here, most is AE. Now, one of the things I will note is when you're closer to the spreader, typically insurance is going to go up a little bit higher just depending on elevation. Now you'll see zone AE, elevation 7 feet. So basically it's elevation 7 feet. That means anything new construction needs to be built at about 8 feet elevation, base 8 feet elevation. So your first floor, your bottom floor needs to be at least 8 feet above sea level. Over here, elevation 8 feet. So it would need to be about 9 feet. That's how you understand that. Now, having the mangroves over here is incredible because it definitely protects your home from any type of flooding. When Ian was going through, the river out here, the pass, Matlacha Pass, was just out of control, raging. But because of all these mangroves here, they were able to protect a lot of these houses here in this area. And I don't believe any of these homes flooded here in the Surfside or the Pelican area. It was more along the river over here where they saw substantial flooding because the river came up and we didn't have any mangroves there to protect, and the water just got pushed right at the canals into the neighborhoods, and that's where it caused a lot of problems. So as you can see, we have this, all this shading here is mangroves, and they protect a lot. So just understand that concept as well. All right, let's jump over here. We're going to go north of Cape Coral Parkway. We're going to be west of Skyline, east of Chiquita. And as you can see, the further north we go, we start to see a lot more yellow, a lot more X500, and even along the canal. So when people say, oh, if you get a Gulf access canal or a waterfront canal, you're definitely going to have flood insurance, that's not true. Because as you can see, there's many neighborhoods, many areas where you can actually buy a house that's completely within the X500 zone where the lender would not require you to have flood insurance. So if that's something important to you, then that's something we can search out and locate. One of the things also to understand, if it's your primary residence, you want to put the odds in your favor. Doesn't mean you definitely have to have a home in the X500. You could have a home over here, but see how close it is to X500, and you may be required to have flood insurance, but it's going to be very minimal in price, typically, if it's at the same elevation or similar to these other homes that are close to the X500. There's a lot of things that go into that, so that's why we talk with the insurance agent. But we can certainly start the search for you, finding areas where the elevation is typically higher and the flood insurance would be typically lower. And even if you are in the X500 area, it may be wise to have flood insurance. There's no reason not to. The price is fairly minimum, especially if you're an X500 to have insurance. You'd probably be less than $1,000 a year, maybe $500 a year. So to have that peace of mind, it's not a bad thing. Here's Lake Finisterre here. So as you can see in this area, plenty of yellow, plenty of opportunity to be outside the AE flood zone. Let's jump over here to Pelican Blvd. So we're going to look between Skyline and Santa Barbara here and the Pelican Blvd. And as you can see, a lot of this area is mainly AE flood zone, meaning it's a lower elevation. Here you'll see elevation 8 feet, meaning that you need to build the homes at about 9 feet. The new homes need to be built at 8 feet. However, a lot of these homes are built below that elevation, especially a lot of the older ones. So you need to be aware of that and find out exactly how much homeowners insurance or flood insurance would cost you. But very little yellow in this area here. You can come up here, up by the baseball complex, and you see now we start to get into X500. So the further north you go, and as you get up here into all this freshwater canal stuff, everything turns into yellow. And even X500 is yellow, and then you even get to just these here, where there's not even yellow anymore. That's just Zone X. And it's an area of minimal flood hazard. So the odds of you flooding in those areas are slim to none. But these are all on freshwater canals in this area. So if you want to be on a Gulf access canal, which I highly recommend, you're going to be down here in this area, but you can still find homes that are in the X500 flood zone. Wow, that was a lot of information. I hope you found it useful. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so you're aware of new videos when I put that out. I'm covering every single neighborhood in the city of Cape Coral here over the next couple of months. So you'll know exactly how long it takes to get to open water. You'll know Cape Coral bridge height, and you'll know the flood zones in those areas. Now, if you are thinking about moving, selling, relocating, retiring, buying here in Cape Coral, go ahead and reach out to me like so many other people have. I'd love to chat with you. Go ahead and click the link to schedule your complimentary video call with me, and we'll chat about your dreams, your goals, what it is that you're trying to do, and see if it makes sense for you to move here to the Cape Coral area. I would imagine you, like me, are probably getting sick and tired of those cold winters up north where you have to stay inside all winter. You can't touch your boat. Maybe put it into storage for 6-7 months out of the year. You can't touch it. But here you can park your boat right in your backyard and use it anytime you desire, year-round, 365 days of the year. So go and reach out to me. Love to chat with you. Hope you have a great day.